Sam was a quiet cowboy who lived far from the busy towns. His land was wide but dry, with tall grass that moved slowly when the wind passed through. A small wooden stable stood near his simple house. Sam did not own much, but he cared deeply for the land and the animals around him. Every morning, he woke before the sun and walked to the stable to begin his day. Sam believed that every living being deserved care. He did not speak much to people, but he spoke gently to animals. They understood his voice and trusted him. His days were calm and followed the same routine. Feed the animals. Clean the stable. Fix broken wood. Watch the sky change colors at sunset. One evening, as the sun dropped low, Sam noticed something near the fence. At first, he thought it was a shadow. Then the shadow moved. It was a donkey, standing still and shaking slightly. The donkey looked very weak. Its body was thin, and its legs trembled as it tried to stay upright. Sam walked closer, slow and careful. The donkey did not run. It only looked at him with tired eyes. Sam could see hunger in its face. The donkey had no rope, no mark, and no sign of an owner. It looked like it had walked a long way with no food. Sam felt a deep ache in his heart. He turned and hurried into the stable. He brought out a bucket of clean water and placed it on the ground. Then he returned with a bundle of dry hay. He stepped back and waited. The donkey did not move at first. It seemed unsure. After a few moments, it lowered its head and drank the water. Slowly, it began to eat the hay. Sam watched quietly. He did not rush. He knew trust took time. When the donkey finished eating, it stayed near the fence. Sam opened the gate and gently guided it inside the stable. He prepared a clean spot with fresh hay and water. The donkey lay down and rested. That night, Sam did not sleep well. He kept thinking about the donkey. He wondered where it had come from and how long it had been alone. Before sunrise, Sam returned to the stable. The donkey was still there, breathing calmly. From that day on, Sam fed the donkey every morning and evening. He brushed its coat and cleaned its hooves. He spoke softly while working. The donkey began to respond. It followed Sam and waited for him at feeding time. Sam gave the donkey a simple name. He called it Milo. Days passed. Milo slowly grew stronger. His eyes became brighter. His steps became steady. The donkey no longer looked afraid. Sam felt proud but also protective. He knew the land could be harsh. People from nearby land sometimes passed by. They noticed Milo and laughed. They said feeding a donkey was useless. They said Sam was wasting food. Sam did not answer. He kept working. One morning, Sam noticed something strange. There were large hoof prints in the dirt outside the stable. They were not Milo's. They were bigger and deeper. Sam looked around but saw nothing. That evening, Milo acted differently. He stood near the stable door and listened to the open land. His ears moved often. Sam stayed nearby, feeling uneasy. As the night grew quiet, something unseen watched the stable from far away. The next morning, Sam woke before the sun. The air felt heavy, as if the land was holding its breath. He stepped outside and looked toward the stable. Milo was already awake, standing near the gate and watching the open fields. Sam noticed the ground again. The strange hoof prints were still there. They circled the stable but never crossed the fence. Sam bent down and touched the dirt. The marks were fresh. Whatever made them had been nearby during the night. Sam felt a quiet worry. He had lived on this land for many years and knew its signs. These prints were not from any animal he owned. They were larger than a donkey's and shaped with strength. Sam decided to stay close to the stable that day. He cleaned the stalls, repaired loose wood, and checked the fence again and again. Milo followed him everywhere. The donkey seemed alert, lifting his head often and listening to sounds far away. As the sun rose higher, the land grew silent. No birds flew overhead. Even the wind seemed weak. Sam felt this silence deep inside his chest. By midday, Sam brought extra water and hay. He placed some inside the stable and some outside near the fence. He did not know why he did this, but something inside told him it was the right thing to do. Milo watched closely. His ears pointed toward the open land. He did not eat much. He waited. That evening, Sam sat on a wooden crate near the stable door. The sky turned orange and pink. Long shadows stretched across the ground. Sam heard a sound then. A deep sound of hooves hitting the earth. Sam stood slowly. His heart beat faster. From the far edge of the land, shapes began to form. 4 large shapes moved together, calm and steady. They were horses. Wild horses. They walked with strength and grace. One had a dark brown coat that shined in the fading light. One was light gray, tall and watchful. One carried a warm golden color, glowing softly. The last one was black, strong and quiet. They stopped far from the fence. They did not rush forward. They simply stood and looked. Sam did not move. He kept his hands open and stayed calm. He knew sudden actions could break trust. Milo stepped forward inside the stable. He stood tall and still. The horses watched him carefully. The gray horse took a slow step closer. Then it stopped. The horses stayed there for a long time. The land felt peaceful. Sam felt a strange calm wash over him. After several minutes, the horses turned and walked away together, disappearing into the open land. That night, Sam could not sleep. His mind replayed the scene again and again. He understood now that the hoof prints belonged to the horses. They had been watching. The next day, the horses did not appear. But Sam still felt their presence. He continued his routine. He fed Milo, cleaned the stable, and worked the land. People passed by again. They saw Milo standing strong and healthy now. Some stopped laughing. Some stayed silent. Another night came. This time, Sam heard no hooves. But Milo remained alert. On the third morning, the horses returned. They stood closer than before. Sam placed hay and water outside the fence again. The golden horse stepped forward and lowered its head. It drank slowly. Sam felt something change. Trust was forming. Days passed. The horses returned often. They never crossed the fence without permission. Sam never chased them away. He treated them with the same quiet respect he gave Milo. One evening, dark clouds filled the sky. A strong storm approached. Wind howled across the land. Rain began to fall hard. The horses stood together in the open field, exposed to the storm. Sam watched them struggle against the wind. Without thinking, Sam opened the outer gate and stepped back. He raised one hand gently and waited. The gray horse moved first. Slowly, it stepped inside the fenced area. The others followed. They stood near the stable, safe from the worst of the storm. Milo stood proudly beside them. Sam watched as rain washed over the land. He felt deep gratitude in his heart. That night, 5 animals rested under one roof, connected by trust and kindness. And the land remembered everything. Morning came slowly after the storm. The sky was pale, and the land smelled fresh and clean. Sam stepped out of his house and walked toward the stable. His boots touched wet soil, leaving deep marks behind him. He paused for a moment, listening. Everything felt calm. Inside the stable, Milo stood quietly. The 4 wild horses were still there. They had not left during the night. They stood in a loose group, relaxed but alert. Their coats were damp, and their breath rose gently in the cool air. Sam felt surprised but not afraid. He moved slowly, careful not to disturb them. He filled buckets with water and placed them on the ground. He brought fresh hay and spread it evenly. The horses watched his movements closely. The gray horse stepped forward first. It lowered its head and drank. The others followed. None showed fear. None showed anger. Sam understood that this moment mattered. Trust could be broken easily. He stayed calm and respectful. As the sun rose higher, the horses finished eating. They stood still for a while, then one by one walked out of the stable area. Before leaving, the black horse stopped and turned its head toward Sam. Its eyes were deep and steady. Then they were gone. Milo watched them disappear into the open land. He stood tall, ears forward, calm and proud. Sam placed a hand on Milo's neck and smiled softly. The day passed quietly. Sam worked the land, fixed broken boards, and cleaned the stable. He noticed something different in Milo. The donkey moved with confidence now. He no longer acted like an animal that had been lost. He belonged. In the afternoon, people from nearby land stopped by. They had heard about the wild horses. Some spoke with surprise. Some with doubt. Sam did not boast. He simply nodded and returned to his work. That evening, the horses returned again. This time, they stood closer to the fence. Sam placed water outside as usual. The golden horse stepped forward and drank. The others waited patiently. Sam stayed nearby but did not approach. He sat on a wooden crate and watched the sky turn red and purple. Days turned into a steady pattern. The horses came at dawn or sunset. Sometimes they stayed longer. Sometimes they left quickly. Always calm. Always watchful. Milo seemed to understand them. He stood near the fence during their visits. He made soft sounds, and the horses responded by lifting their heads or stepping closer. Sam noticed how the land reacted. Birds returned. The wind moved gently through the grass. The place felt alive again. One afternoon, a traveler stopped near Sam's fence. The traveler asked about the donkey and the horses. Sam told the story simply. He spoke of hunger, care, and patience. The traveler listened quietly. Before leaving, he said something that stayed with Sam. Kindness always circles back. That night, Sam dreamed of open fields and running hooves. He woke with a sense of peace. Weeks passed. Milo grew stronger each day. His coat shined. His steps were firm. He helped Sam carry small loads and followed him faithfully. The horses continued to visit. The gray horse often led them. It watched Sam closely, as if studying his heart. One evening, danger came. A loud noise broke the calm. A sharp sound echoed across the land. Milo jumped back in fear. The horses lifted their heads and tensed. Sam ran outside and saw smoke far away. A fire had started in the dry field. The wind pushed it closer. Sam knew he had little time. He opened all gates and led Milo toward the safest path. The horses followed without panic. Together, they moved toward a low area where the land was bare and safe. Smoke filled the air, but Sam stayed focused. They reached safety just as flames passed nearby. The fire moved fast but did not reach them. When the danger passed, the land fell quiet again. The animals stood together, breathing heavily. The gray horse stepped close to Sam. It lowered its head slowly, almost touching his shoulder. Sam stood still, heart full. That moment sealed the bond. By morning, the fire was gone. The land showed marks of damage, but life remained. Sam led Milo back home. The horses followed to the fence and stopped. They did not enter this time. They stood in silence. The black horse stepped forward and struck the ground once. Then the horses turned and walked away. Sam watched until they disappeared. He knew they would return, but even if they did not, the bond would remain forever. Kindness had brought them together, and the land remembered. Life slowly returned to normal after the fire. The land showed dark marks where flames had passed, but green shoots began to rise again. Sam worked every day, helping the land heal. He cleared burned grass, repaired fences, and made the stable stronger. Milo stayed close to him, calm and steady. The wild horses did not return for several days. Sam noticed their absence but did not worry. He believed they would come back when the time felt right. Trust did not need constant proof. Milo continued to grow stronger. He carried small bundles, helped move tools, and followed Sam without command. The donkey had become a true partner. Sam spoke to him often, sharing thoughts he never shared with people. One morning, Sam noticed new hoof prints near the far edge of the land. They were familiar, large and steady. His heart lifted. That evening, as the sun dipped low, the horses returned. They stood quietly near the fence, watching Sam and Milo work together. The gray horse stepped forward and stopped just short of the gate. Sam opened the gate slightly and stepped back. He did not speak. He let the moment decide. The gray horse walked inside. The others followed. They moved slowly, calm and confident. Milo greeted them without fear. He stood proudly among them, no longer the weak donkey Sam had first found. Sam felt something deep and unspoken pass between them all. From that day on, the horses visited daily. Sometimes they stayed outside the fence. Sometimes they entered and rested near the stable. Sam treated them with the same care he gave Milo. He never forced them. He never tried to claim them. People from nearby land began visiting more often. They watched from a distance. Some asked questions. Others simply stared in wonder. Stories spread. They spoke of a cowboy who fed a starving donkey and gained the trust of wild horses. Some believed it. Some did not. Sam stayed humble. He continued his work. One afternoon, a group of strangers arrived. They spoke loudly and pointed toward the horses. Sam felt uneasy. He stepped forward and stood calmly between them and the animals. The gray horse lifted its head and stepped closer to Sam. The others followed. They stood firm and alert. The strangers felt the shift. They stepped back and left without another word. Sam understood then that protection went both ways. That night, the horses stayed close to the stable. Milo rested beside them. Sam sat near the door, watching the stars rise. He felt peace. Seasons changed. The air grew cooler. Leaves turned brown and fell. The land rested. The horses came less often but never disappeared completely. When they returned, it felt like family coming home. Milo remained loyal and strong. He no longer needed constant care, but Sam never stopped giving it. One early morning, the gray horse arrived alone. It stood near the fence and waited. Sam approached slowly. The horse turned and walked a short distance, then stopped and looked back. Sam understood. He followed. They walked together across the land. The gray horse led Sam to a high hill overlooking the fields. From there, the land stretched wide and open. The horse stood still, breathing deeply. Sam stood beside it. They watched the sun rise. After a long moment, the horse turned and walked away. Sam returned home with a full heart. That day, Sam knew something had ended and something new had begun. The bond was complete. The final season arrived quietly. Cold mornings covered the land with soft frost. Sam woke early each day and walked outside wrapped in a warm coat. The stable stood strong, repaired and cared for, just like everything Sam touched. Milo waited for him every morning. The donkey stood tall and healthy, his coat smooth and clean. He no longer looked like the weak animal that had once stood near the fence. He looked proud. The wild horses visited less often now. When they came, they stayed only for short moments. They stood near the fence, watched Sam and Milo, then left again. There was no sadness in their leaving, only understanding. Sam had learned something important. Some bonds are not meant to last forever in one place. Some are meant to change and move on. One evening, the gray horse returned with the others for the last time. The sky glowed deep orange as the sun fell low. Sam felt it in his heart that this visit was different. He placed water near the fence and stood quietly. Milo stood beside him. The horses approached slowly. The golden one lowered its head. The dark brown one stamped the ground gently. The black one stood still, watching everything. The gray horse stepped forward and stopped directly in front of Sam. It lowered its head slowly. Sam raised his hand and rested it gently against the horse's neck. For a moment, the world felt still. Then the gray horse lifted its head and turned away. The others followed. Together, they walked back toward the open land. They did not look back. Sam stood quietly for a long time. Milo stayed close, calm and steady. Life continued. People still passed by. Some still spoke of the horses. Others spoke of the donkey who was saved. Sam listened but did not add much. He knew the truth did not need many words. Milo helped Sam every day. He carried tools, followed paths, and rested beside Sam during breaks. They worked together as partners. The land healed fully. Grass grew tall again. Flowers returned. Birds filled the sky. One spring morning, Sam opened the stable door and smiled. The land felt alive and full of promise. Sam understood now that kindness did not always return in the same form. Sometimes it returned as trust. Sometimes as protection. Sometimes as a lesson. Milo had arrived starving and alone. Because of one act of care, everything had changed. Sam never became famous. He never became rich. But he gained something far greater. He gained peace. Every evening, Sam sat outside the stable and watched the sunset. Milo stood beside him. Together, they watched the land breathe. The memory of 4 wild horses lived quietly in Sam's heart. And the land remembered a cowboy who chose kindness when no one was watching.